Well done, Mama.
Hello gamers, it's your favorite gamer girl, Miss Trish. It's super late at night and I'm having a little bit of mania, so I thought it'd be a good time to record an episode of the Rupaul's Drag Race All-Stars Season 8 Rucap. Let's go over my outfit today. As you can see, I'm wearing my $2 oversized Marshall's sweater with mysterious stains on it. Having a great time. It does cover up my sleeve, but make no mistake, I've got the bobs on. I'm not just some toy for you to gawk at. So yeah, sometimes I like to be a little modest. No bump it today. That's fine, that's fine. And I do have a bit of a smoky eye, hard to see. And by smoky eye, I mean I fell asleep cooking eggs and I lit my apartment on fire. So there was smoke and it irritated my eye. And now I'm shoving a giant ring light in it. So if I have trouble seeing things, that's what's happening. Okay. Enough about my failing body. Let's just get into the recap of episode 3. So we walk in and the girls go see Miss Naisha's mirror message. And Naisha says that God has a different plan for her. I would agree with that. I would agree that God isn't liking what you're selling. However, I would be very upset with God for pushing me to do Drag Race 3 times and letting me flop every single time before telling me. So, I don't know, Naisha. Maybe we should do a little more prayer. Something's happening there. And Jimbo gets the voting right. She's like, yeah, I would really get rid of Naisha immediately. So she's not going to get punished like she was on UK versus the World. I will never live that down. When Kahana is counting the lipsticks, what's up with Darian? Darian counts like in the strangest way, where it just feels like she's holding up a random finger. You know how people count like 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, what if no one counts like that and I look like an idiot? But Darian was like 1, 2, 3, 4. And I was like, okay, that's certainly a choice. Is Darian okay? How old is Darian? Let's get a wellness check. Let's get a wellness check. Something dark is happening there. And then I feel like, I don't know if I'm just like, if I watch too much reality TV now, or if the editing this season is just not subtle, but I'm like, okay, MKD Mrs. Kasha Davis has just had about 8 confessionals. There are thunder sounds whenever Candy talks about Miss Kasha Davis, and we are having like dramatic like cuts like it was insane. I was like, I guess Miss Kasha Davis is in the bottom, and she certainly was. Poor girly. But can I at least have like 3 minutes into the episode before you immediately tell me who's gonna be in the bottom? I think the trick is to just look for who Candy is shit talking that day, because the editors love to just take clips from Candy because she's shit talking everyone, and they'll be like, oh, Candy said this about Miss Kasha Davis, like let's use that to kind of like make the narrative work. So maybe I'm onto something there. Keep an eye on Candy, she knows. But yeah, after that we just do a little more workroom stuff. Lala Ree, love her confessionals. Was anyone else getting the little ASMR tingles when Lala Ree was like fixing her pillow? She made some good like crinkle sounds. Like, I don't know. She also has a very soothing voice for me. And I mean this in the nicest way, but it makes me like want to go to sleep. I feel very safe when Lala Ree is talking to me. Which, again, I stand by the fact I love Lala Ree like in boy mode. I find her so compelling, but then as a drag queen, I'm like, go home. I'm done. And then Alexis Michelle made what I thought was like the most memeable face on the earth. She goes like, I can't even do it, but like, you know, the cross-eyed anime thing. Not that I'm watching anime like that, but the girlies who get it. The girls who know. I was like, wow, Alexis, let's talk about that. But she serves face every single time. I'm gonna have to find a screenshot of it, but it is that weird anime face where like they're eating a cupcake, but the animator's horny, so they make the little anime girl go like cross-eyed with her tongue out. It was that. I know there's a word for it, and I probably know it, but I don't want you guys to know that I know it. And James, my final workroom comment is on James. He's in his little harness, saying how he wants to get in a little sex swing. Why is it always? It's always the girlies that look and talk like James Mansfield who are the kinkiest. No shame. I was just like, you know what? That tracks, and I love that for you. Maybe we can incorporate that into the death match you want so badly. I'm interested in her. She kind, you know what? It kind of does fit into like her housewife aesthetic, like the darkness within. She's fed up washing dishes. Now she's ready to get pounded within an inch of her life. Okay. Let's move on to the challenge. Okay. So for the challenge, Rue explains they will be doing a supermarket ball. Do I love a ball? Yeah. Am I annoyed that this is coming after an episode where the queens already just did like, I think two or three separate looks in the first episode? I was like, how have we had like over 100 looks and it's only episode 3? So like I'm overstimulated, but you know, the ball's always a fun challenge. So the 3 looks they need to deliver are legendary queen, so Milky Mommies, Fruity Patootie, and Supermarket Supermodel. The first 2 looks they bring from home, the last one they construct in the workroom. And they need to make this out of like items found in a supermarket. And I think they have the little hunks. What are they called? The pit crew. They wheel in like all these groceries. If Instacart was doing that, mama, I'd be paying that like $100 tip or whatever. I've really Instacarted like a lot of disturbing things, like hot sauce and ice cream at like 3 a.m. and I'll pay like $30 for that plus tip, and I'm just like, I really needed it right now. But anyway, moving on. I'm so sick of girlies making the ball joke whenever Rue says ball. It's been like 50 seasons internationally. We get it. You know what testicles are? Testicles are sometimes called balls, and you're gay. I've had enough. Word association is fun. I get it. See, I can't even talk straight. I'm losing it. But please let me rest. You do not have to say, I love balls, every time Rue says ball. We know. Wow, that darkness just like took me over. I don't know who that was. My note was like very tame. It was like, oh, sick of this joke. And I was like, I'm gonna kill every queen who ever says that. What else happened? I really enjoyed some of the items they made available. Like they always have the really obvious ones. Like you'll see some like cloth and like, I don't know, like very like fabrics, like very obvious materials. But then it was just like ketchup, a jar of pickles. Like, what are you gonna do with ketchup? I guess you could like use it to maybe color a garment or like try and do like art with it, but I feel like you would reek. I think there's a reason that none of the queens used any of the wet ingredients, but I would have liked to see someone try. If I was on Drag Race, I'll say it now, I'll commit to using any wet ingredients they give me. And then again, more like Miss Kasha Davis, like riggery, not riggery, but like you can tell they want her to go home. Because I feel like she was explaining her look like in a very rational way. They were like, or Miss Kasha Davis was like, yeah, I want to do like this birthday look. And then like the screen, like, you know, like they do in the Indian soap operas, they like, it shatters and explodes and it's playing like haunted circus music. And they keep cutting to people being like, so you're going to be an ugly clown? You're going to be an ugly, stinky clown? You're going to look like a little clown at a clown show? I was like, okay, I guess not only is Miss Kasha Davis going home, her look might not turn out like she intends. I'm just getting a couple hints. And yeah, after the haunted circus music, we go over to Miss Jessica Wilde, and she's holding a bunch of doll babies and diapers. And I was like, oh, wow, this is a side of you I've never seen. And I was like very excited. And she was kind of saying like, yeah, the judges aren't really going to expect what I'm going to do. And I was like, I never knew Jessica could serve stinky baby doo-doo. But then it seems like at the end, she was not interested and she chickened out. So I was really disappointed in her. Hopefully that's the only time I'm disappointed in Miss Jessica. What else happens? Lala Ree talks about her PTSD with the bag look because famously it was a ball where that happened. I kind of feel like this challenge was made for Lala in the sense where it was like, supermarkets had tons of bags. Like, this was the time to do bag look 2.0, the redemption. And she doesn't end up doing that. And I kind of feel like that's a huge flop from her. Because the bag look was memorable. So if you just like survive this by the skin of your teeth, like, that's not good. You should like either flop harder and go even more viral or slay. And I didn't get the sense she was ready to pop off Boots slay. So I was like, you should have just made like bag couture again and referenced your meme. I don't think she played this well, and then it made like the narrative at the end even more upsetting and weird, because I literally think they expected her to do that and she just didn't. What else? Oh, there's this moment where Candy is wrapped in tin foil and she looked like a baked potato. Jiggly Caliente is shaking. I don't know any way else to put it. She legitimately looked like a baked potato. And she's so real for her confessional where she's like, who is cooking in their fucking house? I don't know. Not me, clearly. I almost died today because I cooked eggs. Because I got bored with, like, my little monkey brain got bored waiting like the 30 seconds it takes to cook like scrambled eggs, and I fell asleep. There's probably something deeply wrong with me, but I don't know. I agree with Candy. I'm gonna Uber Eats the scrambled eggs. It's just what's gotta happen. And speaking of Candy, I'm on my Candy train. I want Candy. Her sketch was camp. And like, I get that it was bad, but what killed me were the little details where she labeled things like she was like Ben Garrison or whoever that cartoonist is. She had like a little label over the stick figure that said like me with a little period, me. And then it also said like love it or like love you. I was like, Candy, what is this? Like, it was so cute. I don't know. It was very endearing. She's like she's my himbo queen. I don't know. She's simple and I love her. And Lala, Miss Lala Ree, back to her. I'm just going over, I just kind of eat up the workroom stuff. I make so many notes about their interactions because I find it so interesting. But I love how Lala, I think, like realized like, oh, my look's not gonna be good. So she just spent her time talking to Heidi, being like, Heidi, you'll save me, right? You're gonna save me when I'm in the bottom. Which was probably a good use of her time. But they were also the most inconspicuous people in the world talking about their alliance. Or maybe it's a pact. I don't know. Someone asked Candy. I think the only people that were more conspicuous were like Monet and Trinity on All-Star 7. But I don't know. And Alexis Michelle with more facial reactions. I like screen capped all of these. They're talking about how she's a little slut and she's just like, and what? And what? Like, she serves face like no other. And I can really appreciate that. I can't even do the look, but it's the look where you're just like confident and really okay with your dick piggery. And I respect the hell out of her for that. And then we move on to like the girlies having their little meetings with Rue. I always find these interesting because you can super tell like who's probably going to make it to the end, like who Rue is engaged with and has like a storyline in mind for versus like who's just garbage. And we start with Jimbo. Clearly loves Jimbo. Their back and forth is always so funny, and like Rue loves to talk to Jimbo. But like I was so interested because Jimbo was talking about how like, yeah, I could be like a stinky baby poo-poo hot dog. And like Rue clearly reacted to that very well. But then Jimbo was like, but I think I'm gonna serve glamour. which is like a piece of lettuce. And Rue didn't seem as like enchanted by that. And I think this is Rue's own fault, because Rue's always telling like the kooky girls like, when are you gonna serve us glamour though? And now she has this little stinky clown that she loves, and the stinky clown is scared to serve camp all the time because she'll get clocked for it. So, you know, if Jimbo's disappointing Rue, I think it's her own fault. And then you can kind of see that like difference in how Rue treats people, because after Jimbo, Darian comes up and Rue's just like, nice job, fatty. You look less old now. Took 15 years off your gross old face. Are you gonna wear nice clothes? No? Okay, bye. I was like, okay. I love it. I guess Darian's going home too. And then Kahana's was also funny to me, where it was like, wow, you've had a lot of surgery. You could probably suck your way to the top, huh? And that was it. I mean, I guess they did also talk about how Kahana gets like dents in her butt. Is that real, or was that like a bit? I don't know anything about plastic surgery. You'll have to tell me. Can you get dents in your butt? That's kind of fun. And yeah, that's kind of it for the workroom. Oh, well, on a serious note, I'll end on the serious note. Heidi in closet talking about like the loss of her grandma was such a sad moment. And I don't know, like, I think I felt, it seemed like she was really frustrated having to share that, which, like, fair. But like, I feel like everyone else got something fun, and then Rue kind of made her trauma dump, and then was like, oh, I know your grandma's proud of you. I was like, you don't know anything about Heidi's grandma. But Heidi's grandma, that story like really struck me, because I mean, she talked about quarantine and how she wasn't able to see her grandma before she passed, and just, I think that's like a really relatable story to a lot of people, you know, following all that. So I was glad she shared, but I just didn't like the circumstances in which I felt like she was probably coerced to share. So yeah, it's one of those moments where it's like relatable, sad, I empathize with you, but like, were you comfortable sharing that? I don't know. And does that kind of taint it a little bit? Okay, so it's the next day, and the girlies come into the workroom. I feel like there was a lot of workroom tea this episode. I feel like I've been talking about the workroom for like 50 minutes. But I love that Candy confirmed that she was like, during their original season, when Lala Ree was like about to walk out in the bag look, like, Candy claims that no one noticed it was terrible. I don't know if I believe that, but that's what Candy said. And like, I want to believe that, because I think that's funnier, that these girls were like gassing each other up so much that nobody took a second to realize Lala Ree was fighting for her life. And I also really appreciated what Darian brought to the moment when everybody was talking about relationships. She said like, yeah, I'm not looking for a relationship, don't feel like I need one. I felt pretty seen and represented by her in that moment. She articulated it way better, but it was like, I feel like that has been such a focus on the show, like dating and all that. Just for, I mean, not a huge focus, but like, it's a storyline for a lot of girls. A lot of girls will talk about like their family or how they're looking for like a partner. And I just appreciate how Darian was like, oof, not for me. So I think that was probably like the most memorable thing she's done so far in the season, but I appreciated her presence in this moment. And I also liked how that led to a conversation about kind of being comfortable being alone, being comfortable being with yourself. And that's not necessarily like just for people who like aren't looking for partners or whatever, but it's kind of getting that kind of comfortableness with yourself that like can lead to a partner. I thought it was a good conversation. It was like surprisingly, what's the word? I don't know. It was a surprisingly nice and deep conversation for a bunch of people who were half naked in wigs getting ready to go wear lettuce. And I'm always so bored hearing about how they're gonna vote, because nobody is ever consistent. It's such a waste of time, but for All Stars, they spend so much time on it, because there is always additional context that sways the vote, but everyone pretends like there isn't. They're like, well, I'm always gonna vote fair and never vote incorrectly. Then everyone's like, well, me too. But then when voting happens, it's always like split 50-50 or whatever. So it's such a pointless conversation. And Heidi's in like 50 alliances this season. How can she sit there and be like, yeah, I'm gonna vote super fair this season? Like, girl, you're gonna be in an alliance with both the people up for elimination. What's gonna happen? I don't know. But yeah, the girls get ready, and then we start with our legendary looks. Jojo Siwa is the guest judge for today, so I'll get to test my conspiracy theory that James Mansfield and Jojo Siwa are the same person. And let me tell you something about Jojo Siwa, why it's on my mind. I stan, and I'm tired of old gay 48-year-olds being like, I hate Jojo Siwa, her content sucks. Charles, it's made for 12-year-olds. It's okay to not like media made for 12-year-olds. I think Jojo Siwa has such a like charming and fun brand. She has so much positivity and bubbliness, and yet she's also taken a lot of hard stances, which I can like appreciate. She came out as a queer woman, very young, probably got her body picked apart, probably gets her queerness picked apart, and yet she's still like bubbly and cute through all that. At least like in her outward facing persona. She's also taken a very hard stance on drag and has come out in full support of it, which is more than I can say for like a lot of people who probably should be. So I don't know. Clock me as a Jojo Siwa stan. And I think everyone else should be too. Anyway, speaking of conspiracy theories, I also want to start another one. I feel like when Rue was always saying like, and may the best drag queen win, he always held his hand up like that, but now he's holding his hand up like this, like a little waitress. My conspiracy theory is that this Rue we have now is AI, and the other Rue is off in the Bermuda Triangle or whatever rich people do. It's probably just that Rue's old and can't hold his hand up as high, or maybe it's nothing at all. But I want to make this a big problem, so I'm going to. Okay, starting with the looks. Jimbo looks like a cum bubble, and that's fine. I have no notes. You go. Is it dairy? I don't know, but I really like it. And then James was next. She had a little cookies. I love any look with like oversized hands, like the little willow pill thing. Were those hands? Yeah, they were hands. I don't know. That's just the easiest way to win my heart. Long, dangly limbs. I eat it up every time. And I heard she like made the cookies the night before, like in her room. That's pretty impressive. I am very impressed with James's ability to like put stuff together, like sewing wise. She's a seamstress. Who else? Oh yeah, too many cows. There were tons of cows. I have nothing to say about the cows. It was kind of like Kimono Gate all over again. Like when you hear dairy, you know someone's gonna do a cow. I think that was really, really silly to go with the most obvious thing. So yeah, none of them get points from me. I bet they're real beat up about it. And hate me if you want, but I liked Candy's a surprising amount. Was it a bodysuit with stuff on top of it? Sure. Did I like it? Yeah. It had good movement. It looked like the splashed dropped milk. I don't know. You'll have to shoot me dead because I liked it. And Darian. I think Darian's outfit was fine. And I'm going to say this a million times this season. Or maybe not. Does Darian go home? But the way she walks ruins any outfit that she has. She looks so like timid and like she doesn't want to be there. And like she's trying to be sexy but doesn't commit all the way, so it just looks like it's like awkward teenager. Like she's not comfortable being there. I think if she had like a more confident walk, she could elevate some of like the iffy outfits she has, but she can't serve it like the other girls. So I think it's just very apparent when she's wearing a mediocre outfit, which she was. And then Jessica Wilde, she ate some Fruit Loops. her mind. I feel like that's a way to elevate, like, okay, yeah, people are going to do milk, people are going to do cows, but that's like the dragginess extra that I love. Sorry if you can hear my neighbors having a domestic. They do that a lot. They're fine. What was I saying? Oh yeah, Jessica Wilde, again. She did like both the categories in one, Fruity Patootie and Legendary. And she did it in one outfit. Nobody else could ever. Jessica Wilde for the win. And what else? Oh yeah, when Mrs. Kasha Davis came in, I thought she was having like a stroke. That face, I'm gonna try to do it, but it's gonna be really embarrassing. That wasn't good. I can't do it. And I was like, what's happening to her? Should we call an ambulance? Is she okay? She tells us later that she was supposed to be sour cream, but Rue hates it when you have to explain your look, so he's probably gonna attack her. And my final note is, why do Jojo Siwa and Michelle have the same laugh? They both go, ha ha, ha ha. And Jojo Siwa's like voice goes down like 50 octaves to match Michelle. It's weird. It's weird. Maybe my conspiracy theory should be that Jojo Siwa and Michelle are the same person and not Jojo Siwa and James, because James could never hit that low note. And next, moving on to Fruity Patootie, I really liked Jimbo's look. However, I am so distracted by why, like, he does like a little ASMR voiceover every time he's explaining his look. He's like, hello, today I will be wearing lettuce on the main stage. For my Fruity Patootie look, I have a bunch of gay people all over me. And I have Cher. You might not think she's gay, but I do. Okay, I hope you enjoy. What is that? Jimbo just occupies so many different, like, personalities. How is she, like, stinky demon clown and also, like, ASMR goddess? I think that's scary. I think I fear Jimbo. I like to look at Jimbo from afar. I don't think I would want to talk to Jimbo or be perceived by Jimbo. And that's just how I feel. Kahana had my favorite look in this category. She was the banana, which I feel is like very obvious because, you know, penis. But she really went the extra mile and like elevated the most obvious innuendo. Loved the hair. It was very like Vegas. I don't know. She had like a lot of bits and bobs that made it better than just being a banana. Nothing to say about James's lemon look. I thought it was pretty basic, very housewife of him. We get it, lemonade. Okay, it was fine. And then Candy, I kind of thought she was wearing the same look from like a different challenge, but she just put like a cherry fascinator on it because all her looks look identical. It's just like some sort of bodysuit, usually a red bodysuit, with like a headpiece or something. And then she always has her beautiful gams out, and then she'll have like a little kitten heel. So yeah, wasn't super impressed by this. I do love cherries, but not enough to save this look. Although the one detail I liked was she had like the little like tied cherry stem in her mouth. Do you think she actually tied that herself with her tongue, or did she just like hold that in her mouth the entire time? That'd be really awkward. But it helped. What else? Oh yeah, Alexis came out. I loved Alexis's look, but it didn't super read fruit to me, which is maybe a ridiculous thing to say because she had like blueberries on her head and she was blue from head to toe, but it just wasn't as like fruity as the other looks. So I was like, this is beautiful, but I would have I'm doing the thing I hate. I was like, I wish she was like a little more campy with it, but I hate when they look at campy people and say I wish they were a little more glamour. So you know what, Alexis Michelle, you're fine. And on that, well, with Alexis Michelle, I just get the feeling that Rupaul is really horny this season. He's had like a lot of really like out of pocket horny comments. Like he always kind of does, but this season he says them like a little aggressively, like the Jimbo thing, like looks like someone fucked her brains out. I'm just really like shocked. Because yeah, when Alexis Michelle comes out, he's like, you know what they say, the what is it? The darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. I was like, you need to stop. You need to stop. Yeah, so RuPaul's horny this episode. That wasn't the best example, but like, stay on the lookout. Something's happening at his advanced age. Next is Lala Ree. It looked awful. It looked awful. I think Lala Ree has way too big of a head to be pulling shit like that. Don't wear something that like accentuates how dome shaped and massive your head is. And I can say all this because I have a famously massive head. But like, it just didn't sit like she was a caramel apple, and it looked like crystallized cum sitting on her head. And the apple suit didn't look good either. And I'm gonna say something which is like maybe extremely mean and not allowed, but I'm gonna say it. She should have been a coconut, because her head looks like a coconut. And it would have been also funny because, spoiler, the lip sync song for tonight is Coconuts. I just think, if God gave you something, you should use it. So use that little coconut noggin. Is coconut a fruit? It would be if Lala was one. Did I just do a hate crime? Maybe a little bit. We'll see. Next is Darian Lake. I thought this was Darian Lake's best outfit. Still didn't like it. She was wearing like a little, I don't know, she was like a banana split. So she had like this overcoat and then she tore it off. And it was like a banana with like whipped cream and cherries over her bits and bobs. The doors that Chris Evans has opened. Was that Avengers? I don't watch superhero movies. They're too loud. I get overwhelmed, but I think at one time he had whipped cream in those same bits and bobs. I think about that image a lot, but I don't know where it's from. Yeah, but Darian walks like me when I'm hungover going to Starbucks at 5 a.m. So that just, it hurts her. It hurts her. And I'm noticing that like in the same vein where RuPaul's really horny, I think Jojo Siwa is like unable to process, or like she doesn't know what to do with all these horny comments. So like all her comments are just like, oh ho ho, or just like she'll repeat the same joke, or just go like, ah. But I can sense she's traumatized. What do you even say? Because all her fans are 12 years old, so you can't be serving what Michelle and Rue are serving. She had a couple good quips, like the bananas, love you bunches. That's about as good as you can get on Drag Race while trying to stay PG. So I respect her hustle, but it just made me laugh. Next is Jessica Wilde. She's so beautiful. I cannot handle it. The thing I like about her, like, I mean, I think she has good looks, but I think there are people that edge her out in the looks department, but I just love the way she moves down the runway, and I think she has such like an infectious energy. She always looks like she's so happy, she's having the best time, and that just like, I don't know, I believe it. And that makes me like her more. And she was season 2, right? She was our unproblematic queen, the only one. She survived that hellhole and came out stronger than ever. So I think in the way that Darian is like harmed by the way she navigates the runway, Jessica Wilde is very elevated in that way. Next, Mrs. Kasha Davis. I actually thought her look here was really good, especially for her. Ooh. But Kahana did the banana, and she did the banana not only better, but probably the best. So yeah, Kahana Montrese's banana is far larger and juicier, so it simply consumes the other banana, and Miss Kasha Davis loses. And then finally, Heidi. She's her big old berry. She's got them strawberry hips. I really have no critiques. I gobbled this look up. She's so upgraded this season. You can tell Nicki Minaj really put the fear of God in Heidi. And her looks are just so good. So yeah, she's definitely, I think the banana look wins for me, but Heidi was looking juicy and I gotta give her props. And finally, we have the supermarket supermodel looks, which are the ones that the girls had to make in the workroom. So these are gonna suck. Jimbo comes out first, and it's good, but it's not what I wanted from her. And I can tell the judges are kind of disappointed too. Like, it is kind of just, I don't know, it's just like lettuce glued to a corset. And it's like done in a pleasing way. Like, I don't know, it's done well, but when you bring Jimbo onto a season, you want stinky poopy hot dog water. I don't want lettuce. I just don't. So, yeah, this is a disaster of your own making, Rue, but it is a disaster nonetheless. Next is Kahana, who I think had a really impressive look, and like the only critiques I have for it are pretty nitpicky in the sense where I don't think it fit her really well. Like, it fit her pretty well, but there were just some parts, like I think the shoulder pads were pretty bulky, and it just hung on her in certain ways that weren't super flattering. I only say that because I think she could have like edged out of win if it was like a little I don't know, if it fit her a little better. I think that's like really the only place that she could get knocked. But I was really impressed by her showing, like all of them. So she was definitely one of my faves this episode. And James wasn't super memorable to me, but I do love a puppet. What that puppet mouth do. But yeah, I don't know. Am I kind of bored by the housewife aesthetic already? Maybe a little bit, but that's like my own personal issue. I don't think anything about her look was like poorly constructed. It just also didn't jump out at me as like super amazing or anything, which is fine. Candy again looks like a baked potato. And she said she looks like an alien from the future. Was this her redoing her alien look? It kind of looked like it. Baked alien potato. I don't know. Her mind cannot be understood in this current day and age. And Alexis Michelle, I was so impressed by her, but I don't think anybody else cares about Alexis Michelle. So maybe I'll just be alone Alexis Michelle stan. I feel like her garment was really well constructed, and the only like issue is that she went really like earthy tones and was kind of, I don't know, she kind of went like high fashion when I don't think the runway really shook out that way. A lot of people went like super bright colors, you know, like incorporating like produce or like balloons, you know, clown fuckery. And she was like very like toned down compared to all of them, which I don't think is bad. I just think she didn't win because the runway didn't shake out that way. Everyone went to Clown Fiesta and she was left behind because of it. So I don't think she did anything wrong. It was just kind of like bad luck on her part. Maybe she went for the materials that were kind of like a trap. I don't know. And Lala Ree, she looks terrible. So sorry to her. Yes, this is better than the paper bag, but like only in the sense where it's like constructed better. If we go outside of just like being constructed better, it's more forgettable, which I think makes it worse because it's not so good that you get to have the storyline of like, oh my god, she's improved so much, like she really learned from wearing a paper bag, and it's not flopatandra enough to be paper bag or, you know, bag look number 2. It's just like, okay, she's slightly improved, so she's not in the bottom, but still this is pretty garbo. And like with that in mind, I felt like the producers were still trying to like push that storyline where like, I don't know, people liked this more than I think it deserved. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Lala Ree gets like pushed after this episode, because I feel like, again, this was like very much constructed for her, and I don't think she really did anything with it. And my final comment on Lala Ree, why does Lala Ree get to be bald, but Joey J can't? I don't have anything to follow up there, but I don't know. I love her big bald head, and I want Joey to have, I guess Joey's not bald, but it's fine to not wear a wig. I think Lala Ree really pulls it off. And honestly, luckily Luckily for Lala, she's followed by Darian, who looks a mess. Her bustle is so crumpled and off-center and terrible. And then the way she moves, I know you're probably tired of me saying that, just accentuates how terrible it is. Because like if she was twirling it and like moving all around and swaying it back and forth and throwing it, like maybe I wouldn't realize that it was an off-center, disgusting mess. But unfortunately, she just walks like, and I can tell. So that's tough for her. I'm very simple. I'm easily distracted by movement, so just a little bit more Darian and you can get there. And I don't know. I also didn't get the rest of it. It was serving very much clown, but she didn't get the same clown attack that we see later with Mrs. Kasha Davis. But again, unluckily for Darian, she is followed by Jessica's look, who I think had a very stunning look. Yes, it was a corset, much like other girlies, but I think what elevated Miss Jessica here was that she kind of like, I don't know, she had very like a cohesive design. Like she would have flowers in the bobs on the bottom of the corset. It would be on her shoes, it'd be in her hair. The pastel coloring was like carried all throughout. The train was ironed and hung nicely, which like mattered when you see like, I mean, Darian's wasn't a train exactly. I think it was supposed to be more bustle, but like out of all the queens that had stuff hanging off of them, Jessica's was the most like well put together. So, you know, in some ways, like it is fine to do a corset. You just have to do it in a neat way. And I think Jessica pulled that off. So yeah, I think she kind of stood out in this clown fiesta for being a little more coherent where other girls weren't. And I'm gonna be so honest here, just to maintain the integrity of my channel, but I liked Mrs. Kasha Davis's birthday look. I did. Can I pinpoint why? Probably not. If I had to guess, I'd say I have a simple monkey brain and I really like bright colors and shapes. So I was like, whoa, there's so many shapes and bright colors. I love this. Maybe I'm the kid. Maybe I'm the kid at the birthday party. It's my birthday. That's who the look was for, me. But I don't know. She said it's like a kid's birthday look. I think that evokes chaos for me, and that look captured it, but it wasn't like, I don't know, it was kind of like controlled chaos. It wasn't like she was just putting stuff anywhere. Like it was very sectioned and like proportioned. It had shape. I think it had visual clarity. Like sure, it was like, I don't know, like a crazy mess and there was a lot to look at, but it wasn't like random or haphazard. I liked it. Was it the best? Absolutely not. But like, I felt like the critiques she got were just disproportionate and out of pocket. It definitely felt like one of those cases where they had decided they want her to go home and then they kind of make it work. You know, like they're working backwards. Like they want her to go home, so we're gonna call you a stinky clown and send you home regardless. I mean, not that she wasn't serving like a little bit of stinky clown. It was just like a little bit too much for me. And finally, Miss Heidi in closet. So good. She gets major points for not just like gluing things to a bodysuit. She had a well-constructed and fully realized garment. The coloring was good. It was like sunset. The only critique I can give is just like the napkins were really stiff when she walked. So like there wasn't good movement with the dress, but like if we were just judging off of the constructed look, I would give the win to Heidi. I thought that was so impressive how she was able to create that. Because like I'm trying to think, like basically everyone else did like bodysuit or just like, I don't know, long flowy thing covering up the fact that I can't make something. So I think Kahana's like the only exception to that, maybe. But like, I don't know, I was just impressed with how elevated her look was compared to everybody else. So yeah, surprised at what happened with Miss Heidi. So we move on to the judging, and we see Kahana, James, Alexis, and Heidi are all safe. Heidi is not a happy lady. She makes like more subtle. I shouldn't say that. They're very overt. I don't know. Like she's been serving kind of like bitter Betty this episode. She doesn't seem very happy. And this is kind of confirmed later, but like in knowing that, I kind of picked up on it all throughout the episode. So she's not looking happy, which is weird because Heidi's usually so like upbeat. So I'll be curious to see what she says in later episodes, like what's kind of gnawing at her. Because I mean, I'm sure some of it is not getting her flowers in this moment because I think she could have easily been high, if not the winner. But I don't know. Is it just that? I'm curious. I'm sure she'll tell us. I won't get ahead of myself. So, out of the remaining girls, starting the critiques with Jimbo, they kind of say the thing that I've already hit on, which is we want Jimbo for Stinky Clown. Jimbo served like milquetoast diva. Go back to Stinky Clown Jimbo. That's how I would sum it up, and I agree. I want Jimbo serving Jimbo. Candy got rightfully clocked for wearing the same silhouette every single time. And I was kind of surprised when I was talking with my friends because I think a lot of people thought Candy was getting like critiques in the sense that like she was high. I understood her critiques to be she's low. They're just afraid of Candy, so they kind of gently tell her like you sucked. Yeah, so like they fear her, but I think she was in the running for bottom two. I did not think her critiques were high. They were just like gentle. Lala Ree, on the other hand, this was gaslighting. This was gaslighting. Lala did fine, but she did not deserve to be high. And I get that this is for storyline, like the, oh my god, she was this iconic flop, like creator of the golden boot, and now she's like in the running to win the ball. And I was like, no. We can still do this storyline, like, and not have to sacrifice someone who clearly should have been high. Like, don't bring Candy. Like, Candy didn't need to be there, so just tell Candy she's safe. Bring Heidi here. Lala can take Candy's place as the like, I don't know, like middle critique, middle low, and Heidi can get the high critiques. I just don't understand, like it's clear they wanted Lala here no matter what, whether she flopped or they wanted to be like, oh my god, you improved so much. So why is Candy here? Because clearly Candy was very mid. I don't know, I just didn't understand it. Like, you can make this storyline work and not sacrifice someone who deserved their flowers. Super weird. And it was such a high emotion moment, which didn't match how I felt at all. Like, Lala was crying, all this stuff, and I was like, you're wearing like the stuff that I line my cabinets with, and you just like wrapped it around twice. I was like, I don't know. If a storyline's not working, you don't have to force it. This was really weird. So yeah, I guess she was high. Then Darian gets red on her garment length and like some of the sloppy details. I do agree with that. But I still think the main detractor is the walk. And then they also like, I don't know, I'm kind of bored with the fact that they seem like obsessed with her body, like the queen that lost weight. It's boring. And I don't know, maybe not it's just weird the way they talk about it. I don't love it. I feel like there's more to Darian than just like her weight loss. Although, to be fair, I mean, this could have been cut out, but from what we've seen of Darian, like she also hasn't given too much, so maybe it's not the producer's fault that they're just focusing on this one thing they know about her. She does seem a little more reserved this season, so it's possible that she just hasn't given them a lot to work with. Next is Jessica Wilde. She gets props for her storytelling on the runway, which I agree with. I think, again, like the way she walks and the way she emotes really elevates anything that she wears. But I think Jessica deserves to be up there and deserves her high critiques, and even, spoiler alert, deserves her win, but I'm shocked that Heidi's not up there with her. I think Heidi is easily comparable to what Jessica was serving, and it's frustrating to get Candy there instead of Heidi, or, you know, Lala Ree and Candy, whatever, you know what I mean. And then finally, Kasha. It's never good. Like, Kasha's looks weren't the best. Like, I think she deserved to be in the bottom, but I was surprised with, like, the intensity that they came at her with. Like, T.S. Madison, it seemed like she wanted to have, like, her Nikki moment where she just goes in and she's like, I hate this. I hate your makeup. Heidi's in the background sobbing. She's flashing back. But, yeah, in this moment, I was like, I still think Darian's gonna go home over Mrs. Kasha Davis, but then Mrs. Kasha Davis starts monologuing. I'm like, oh, okay, bye. Rue hates that. Don't monologue. Unless it's about your trauma, be quiet. No feedback allowed. No unwarranted spotlight time. Shut up. And once again, the narratives and then you can tell the producers really want you to be mad at Kasha for doing this because they keep cutting to Candy, who's like, so once again, they weaponize Candy's repertoire of facial expressions to tell the narrative they want. I literally think this just came to me. My conspiracy theory is they just bring Candy on stage because she emotes at everything. And when Candy's around, it's probably easier to build any narrative you want because you can cut any reaction of her doing something because she's just over there giving the most at every single time. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm so smart. And unfortunately, that's what Heidi was sacrificed for. So, oh yeah, back to Kasha's monologuing. You shouldn't do that, and it also gave the queens an easy way to vote for you because they can just say like, oh, Kasha gave up, you know? I don't think Kasha gave up. I don't think that's what she was saying, but I think voting other queens out is hard, and if you give them like an easy out like that, they'll take it because then they don't have to explain that choice. So I think that was a big mistake, and I honestly think if Kasha hadn't done that, then Darian probably would have gone home. Yeah, that's what I think. So after that, Miss Jessica is declared the winner, rightfully so, out of everyone on stage, but like, where's Heidi? And Candy confirms what I just said, where like when she's voting, she's like, you made me do this, Kasha. No, she didn't. But like, go ahead, go off, Candy. I eat it up every time. So yeah, voting concludes and we go back to the main stage, and the lip sync assassin is revealed to be the beautiful, the wonderful Miss Raja O'Hara. Love this queen. And the song they are lip syncing to, Raja and Jessica, is Coconuts by Kim Petras. What a fun song. And yeah, this lip sync was over in a second. Like, beat one, when Jessica revealed to those like monstrous titties and Raja just had like nothing, I was like, oh, it's over. That sucks, Raja. That stinks. I wonder, did she know the song? Like, I don't know, like, at what time the lip sync assassins know the song. Like, because that would be foolish to know that you're lip syncing Coconuts and to not have big mommy milkers. Not that that's the only, like, valid type of breast, but, like, if you've seen the Kim Petras music video, she very, very clearly has a vision in mind. And I think Jessica matched that vision a little more than Raja in this moment. And I found Jojo Siwa so charming during this. Like the little, when Jessica frees the beasts and Jojo Siwa just screams, that was all of us. I don't know. She's funny. I like her. And I'm going to talk about my own trauma for a bit. Jessica Wilde, the way she's dressed up, looks like my aunt. And this is a really sexy lip sync, and I think that gave me a lot of complicated feelings, seeing Jessica looking like my aunt, feeling up her heaving breasts. That was weird for me. I'm still not okay. Thank you for asking. A cash tip would help. I know that Jessica is like dressed up as a reference to, what is it, La Veneno? I don't know if I said that right. La Veneno. Which is like I think a very famous like Spanish trans actress. I should stop speaking. I clearly don't know this. I've only heard of this woman like in passing. I got the reference because I think that is like her most iconic outfit. But I don't know enough to say anything intelligent. But I was like, oh, that's a sexy reference. And it also looks like my aunt. Interesting. Interesting. I'm gonna have dreams about that. Very complex, dark dreams. And also, as a Drag Race scholar, I was like, the tits that Jessica is wearing are definitely the ones that Yara Sofia wore in whatever All Stars she was in, and they were. I guess that's not like tea because Jessica and Yara are just like friends, and friends let friends borrow your titties. But I was like, those titties can't stop winning. Rue was hysteric when Yara just came out and lip synced and just like bounced. And here we are again. Rue has a very clear like interest and hobby, and it's big breasts. And I respect that, and more girls should weaponize that against him. He was sob laughing and like, I mean, props to Jessica, but like she was doing very basic moves. Like she was just jumping. And Rue was like, wow. So those titties are powerful. I would go to the Amazon.com and order me a pair immediately. That is how you win. And again, I have so many observations during this lip sync because it was just weird as hell, and I loved it. There was that out of pocket moment where the camera just cuts to Jimbo and Lala Ree being motionless but lip syncing to the song. They were just like, my coconuts, looking straight forward, not emoting, terrifying, haunting, gave me chills. It looks like they're both having like an existential crisis. Jimbo, because Jimbo probably realizes that Coconuts by Kim Petras is probably the only song that she could ever win a lip sync to. And Lala Ree, because she kind of looks like a coconut, and maybe she could win too. I'm sorry, Lala. I really like you, but I bet you don't like me, and that's allowed. And yeah, Jessica, again, I think I got a screenshot of it. She wasn't moving well. There was one point where she got down, and maybe the titties, I literally think this could be true, but the titties like threw her off balance, because it looked like she was getting down to like wiggle, you know, do the worm a bit, but she was so stiff. I thought she was gonna do push-ups, which I think would have been like erotic for me, but it just looked kind of weird. So yeah, what else? Oh, during like the final beat of the song, or like whatever they show us, Jessica's clearly going over to Raja to breastfeed her, and then the camera cuts and Rue just like scream laughs. Release the Raja breastfeeding cut. That woman clearly got some milk, and I would have liked to see it from the woman that looks like my aunt. What was I saying? Jessica wins 30K, which I think is more than she could have even won on season 2, and she's just so lovable, and she deserves it. That makes me happy because if I'm being honest and vulnerable, I don't think Jessica Wilde will win, but that is cushioned by the fact that she has won $30,000. Good for Jessica. And then Kasha goes home. Are you surprised? If you are, then you need to watch more reality TV and get brain rot like me. And I also, again, I love it how the camera cuts to Candy and she's just nodding like, yeah, duh. Like, of course Kasha is going home. That crusty beast, she should have been home 2 episodes ago. Does Candy serve looks? No. Coherent sentences? Never. But she serves face and reactions at every moment. She's like, she tells me what to feel. She's my narrator of the season, even though I don't know what she's saying. And then yeah, Kasha leaves, and it breaks my heart because she's such a class act. She's so genuine. Her platform is so positive, and I just love everything she stands for. I'm glad it got to be elevated at least a little bit from her time on Drag Race. And it broke my heart to see Heidi, like, honestly get really emotional and tear up when Kasha's leaving with, like, her, there's always time for kindness. That was sad. Heidi seems to be having a really tough time. I haven't watched Untucked yet, but people have hinted slash spoiled to me that she kind of goes into what that tough time is, and that maybe it's more rough than I thought. But I hope she's doing okay. I hope maybe we get more info during the next episode or like next few episodes. But yeah, she was like one of the people I wanted to win, so I hope she's okay. That's all I have to say. That is the end of the episode. I really enjoyed this one. I will not be reviewing episode 2 just because my schedule's crazy and that double premiere really messed me up. So I'm just gonna do 3 and then continue onwards from there. And yeah, if you liked this, let me know. Let's get that algorithm pushing. You know what I mean? Okay, bye.